Everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. I have an update to share about one of Trump's Capitol terrorists. It's time for an episode of Where Are They Now?
Matthew Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
68-year-old Duke Wilson of Idaho just received one of the longest sentences yet for a January 6th defendant. And here's why. Wilson was seen, you guys are going to remember him in this picture. He was seen in the lower West Terrace tunnel. He was assaulting officers for an extended period of time. He was wearing a CNN fake news baseball cap while he was doing this. And Wilson was seen on body cam footage pulling the Capitol doors open as officers were fighting with this violent mob and trying to pull them shut. At one point, Wilson was seen wielding what looked like PVC pipe, and it was several feet long. So he was using it to hit officers. He was jabbing at them with this PVC pipe. And Wilson was then seen raising the PVC pipe above his head, and he threw it, he hurled it at the officers like a spear. Additional body cam and surveillance footage also shows Wilson helping other members of the mob when they were attempting to wrestle riot shields away from the officers. And in the process, while they're fighting over these shields, two officers were apparently pushed to the ground and they were injured. So, and then Wilson was also seen pushing on one officer's riot shield, and one of the officers who was interviewed during this investigation told the investigators that Wilson punched him in the head. He also pushed on his head and he pushed on his shield, and then he hit him in the shoulder with the pole, which I assume was the PVC pipe. Although, it wasn't clear that if it was that or if it was something else in this affidavit. But Wilson ended up turning himself in on April 15th. He discovered that the FBI was looking for him, and then he was indicted on numerous felonies and misdemeanors. He was hit with 3 counts of assaulting officers with physical contact or the intent to commit another felony. That increases the penalty. Civil disorder, entering a restricted building or grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and parading or demonstrating in a Capitol. Also 2 counts of physical violence and obstructing an official proceeding. So Wilson was looking at seriously decades in prison. And essentially at his age, it's a life sentence. And remember, this is all on video. This is not his word against the officers. Well, Wilson took a plea deal in September. He pleaded guilty to 2 crimes, assaulting officers and obstructing an official proceeding. And Wilson also has a conviction on his record in the past for driving under the influence. I know you guys are so shocked. However, prosecutors didn't factor that in. They didn't factor that into the sentencing guidelines, which for these 2 crimes ranges from 41 to 51 months, not the 20 years that we would hope. In addition, the fines related to these particular sentencing guidelines range between $7,500 and $75,000. So prosecutors were asking for 46 months in prison. Wilson's defense attorney requested that the judge show mercy and sentence his client to a period of time somewhere below the lowest end, under 41 months. One of the officers who is attacked by Wilson is Capitol Police Sergeant Aquilino Gonell. You guys might remember him. He testified to the January 6th commission or committee. Gonell is an Iraq war veteran, and he spoke at the sentencing hearing, and he told the judge, quote, "I was used to fighting against enemies of the United States, but I never encountered what I did on January 6th. That says a lot, doesn't it? He also described how Wilson swung his PVC pipe at another officer who had no helmet. So Officer Gonell blocked it with his hands, and he said it damaged both of his hands. In addition, he said that Wilson found a flagpole on the ground at one point, and he picked that up and he started using that as a weapon as well. So as a result of this horrific violence on January 6th, Officer Gonell suffered cuts to his hands and his legs. He tore his rotator cuff in his shoulder. or it was torn for him. His foot was injured. And so his foot and his shoulder both required surgery. And he's still in physical therapy over a year later. And he's still taking part in mental health counseling. Because of all this, Officer Gonell is on light duty with the Capitol Police, which comes with a significant pay cut. So the guy is attacked. He's physically harmed, emotionally, mentally harmed, and now he's got to take a pay cut because of these assholes. So Wilson apologized in court. He said, quote, "I'm very sorry I caused any injuries to any officers, made a very bad decision. I deserve punishment for being in there." However, he also seemed to try to excuse his actions away by telling the court that he got hit in the head while he was in the tunnel, so he can only recall a small portion of his actions. He said, quote, "I didn't have a plan. There was no plan to do any of this. Some of the videos they showed me, I can't believe I was doing anything like that." So Judge Royce Lamberth presided over Wilson's case, and he told Wilson, quote, "That was a horrible day for our country. It's a horrible day for the court to witness those videos and see what happened to our country that day. And it's a message that the court has to send, that our country has to deal with that under the confines of the law." But he also said, quote, "Obviously, you're a decent guy. You made a terrible mistake. You tried to fess up to it as best you could." Well, with that, Judge Lamberth sentenced Wilson to 51 months in prison and 3 years of probation. He also ordered Wilson to pay $2,000 in restitution fees, and he has to cover the costs of Officer Gonell's medical bills, and that's to be determined at a later date. So this was one of the rare instances in which a judge went above the prosecutor's request. My question is, why is that? Why is it the prosecutors are so willing to give these people a break, including the violent defendants? I hope these officers are paying attention. I hope they see who really has their backs. It's definitely not the Republican Party, and it doesn't even appear to be the Department of Justice or these prosecutors. I think it's a disgrace that they didn't even request the maximum for someone this violent who caused lifelong physical and emotional harm for these officers. You know, and even though I'm very happy with this sentence, the judge pissed me off with that decent guy comment. And this is one of the judges that's been better on these cases. How did he prove he's a decent guy? He basically is feigning amnesia about the whole thing. And in the letter to the court, he tried to blame Antifa for the violence. Wilson wrote that in regard to the people who were fighting with the police on January 6th, he said, quote, "I heard later that these people were with Antifa and were getting the crowd worked up and agitated." No, dude, that was all you. You were Antifa. You got the crowd worked up. Your fellow MAGA buddies think that you are Antifa because they're completely blind to the fact that Donald Trump has many violent followers with a complete and total lack of regard for the law, for decency. And you know why? Because birds of a feather and all that. That's why. So no, that was you that got the crowd worked up. That was you attacking the police. And all the people around you were there for the same damn reason and for the same damn man who doesn't give a shit about you or your future or if you die in prison. That's who you got in trouble for. That's who you put it all on the line for. You pushed all your chips into the center for Donald Trump and you lost, just like he lost. I'm so sick of this Antifa bullshit narrative. Not one person yet who's been arrested is connected to Antifa in any way, shape, or form. Get over it. accept that there are complete sociopath criminals on your side as well. We can admit it. I can admit there are some bad people on the left. Admit there's bad people on the right. There are really, really psycho Trump supporters. And they were at the Capitol that day. Anyway, guys, if I hear any more, I'll let you know. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.